Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one will go over some of my favorite plays for the 11-game NBA slate for tonight on Draftkings. And before we continue, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. Getting close to 3K subs. That's awesome. Hopefully we can get there soon. If you want to follow me on Twitter, at ChrisPennell16, I'll try to tweet out some news, or retweet news or whatever, and then maybe I'll make a stupid or funny tweet every once in a while. So follow me on Twitter, and then at ChrisPennell16, and if my spreadsheets I make every single night for the NBA season. It's my most up-to-date content, projections, values, cheat sheets, my Slack chat, all that good stuff, so you can get my most up-to-date thing, because I update it throughout the day, because obviously things change throughout the day dramatically for the NBA. At 6:30 the whole slate can change just depending on if someone gets ruled out or not. So that's all up to date on my spreadsheets. That's available in the link description below, and I say we get right into the video. So again, I like more than just the people I'm going to talk about, but I don't want to sit here and talk for an hour about every single play, so I'm just going to tell you guys some people that stood out to me, and I'm probably going to get into my lineup, or at least try to. So first thing I want to talk about is Karl-Anthony Towns at 10,300. Probably going to be the most popular spend up of the slate, especially with Jeff Teague being out, because he's got some monster points per minute numbers, usage rate, all that stuff with Jeff Teague being out, and that's the case tonight. I know it wasn't great last time out versus Memphis when he was 98% owned in cash games, so it really doesn't matter what he did. If he scored 500 points, if he scored negative 12, it wouldn't have mattered because of how high owned he was in cash games. But I'm going to go right back to the well here in a matchup versus Golden State, who is 28th in points given up to opposing centers this season on DraftKings. He's still sitting at a monstrous 1.76 fantasy points per minute on the season with a 28.8% usage rate, which both of those will go up with Jeff Teague being out. I know it wasn't great last game versus Memphis, but one game sample size is a bigger sample size with Jeff Teague being out. So Karl-Anthony Towns should put up a monster game, and we've seen his upside so far this season in two great matchups versus Brooklyn and Charlotte, which is as good as it gets. And he dropped nearly 80 points in each outing, and he actually had an 80-point outing versus Charlotte in only 28 minutes. And we get another really easy matchup on tap. We could see him return to those lofty numbers, and they're 12-point favorites, which isn't enough to scare me off of them. I mean, we saw Harden drop over 70 fantasy points in a blowout versus Golden State just recently. And plus, they get D'Angelo Russell back more than likely, so that should at least help the game stay a little bit closer, because D'Angelo Russell can score in bunches. So I do like Towns here, and like I said, even if they do blow them out, in 28 minutes versus Charlotte, he got 82 fantasy points. That's insane. So point per minute monster, Karl-Anthony Towns, he's my spend up of the night. No one's going to be able to stop him down low. So I'm going to build around Towns. He's the first guy I'm plugging in. And then the next guy, if I can double spend up for center, and if you want to, there's other options at center, but if you want to double spend up, like an Andre Drummond, I believe that's what I went with on Wednesday. What was it? The Andre Drummond and Karl-Anthony Towns combo. So I like them a lot. It's simple with them. So you got to ask yourself, is Blake Griffin playing? And if the answer is no, which it is, then we can fire up Drummond as an elite play every single time. He continues to dominate in the court with getting over 35 minutes per game and 1.55 fantasy points per minute with a 26% usage rate. He's nearly averaging a 20-20 on the year with 22 points and 18.6 rebounds, which is absolutely insane. This is also a great matchup, too, versus Indianapolis, who's 24th versus opposing centers this season. And in the first game of the season, when I believe he was very high owned. No, I think he's like 40% owned. I was on him. I ended up scoring 78 fantasy points. I'm not saying he's going to do that again, but it's a favorable matchup. We know not the Pistons, the Pacers are not that great versus big men. So I could see another big game out of him. It wouldn't surprise me if he got over 60 fantasy points. And he plays a ton of minutes. He's the main guy on offense, especially with Derrick Rose being out and all those other guys that they're missing. So, honestly, a 30-30 game is not out of the question here. 20-20 is pretty much his average, and I think he's just a tremendous safe play with a lot of upside. So Andre Drummond, like him a lot. I think him and Towns is a great way to start your lineups. You're probably going to get 60 points out of each of them. They're just such safe plays with big upside. So I really like that. Those are my two favorite spend ups. Obviously, you can spend it for some other guys, but I'm not going to tell you every single person you can play. I really like the two centers, Drummond and Karl-Anthony Towns. And if we're going to spend up, we have to find a value option. And I'm liking Raul Neto here. I think I'm saying that right. Neto. I'm not sure. Either way, he's a good play tonight. Sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. But there's just a lot of studs on the slate. We want to pay up. So if we want to build a stars and scrub lineup here, we have to go with someone that's really cheap. And thankfully, we have quite a few good options here. But I really like Neto the best here. Ben Simmons is slated to miss time. And Neto will draw the start here and push for 30 minutes here, as he played 30 minutes last game. And he got 25 fantasy points. He's going to be the most popular value play of the slate. I'm already seeing ownership projections, and he's pretty much right up the top with Karl-Anthony Towns. So it's going to be the way you're going to go in cash games. It's going to be Towns, it's going to be Neto, then you're going to figure out the rest, which there's plenty of other good plays too. And like I said, he's going to be popular, and I'm going to be plugging him in. It's a nice stars and scrubs approach to start the night, and he's been at 0.88 points per minute this season, and that's just fine for someone at this price tag, a new role in the offense. It's a tough matchup versus Denver. They're pretty good versus opposing guards, and they play at a really slow pace. But 3,400, I think he gets us 20 fantasy points, so don't mind Neto here at 3,400. Another value guy I like is Rodney Hood at 3,600. He was, what was he, 91% last night? I know Jimmy Butler was 98% in cash. I think Hood was 91 if I remember correctly. It was insane. It was just a really, really chalky night last night. Whiteside was 70. Harrell was 70. Leonard was 94. Butler was 98. It was crazy. It was really, really chalky. So I'm not expecting that again because we have a huge 11-game slate. Ownership will shut out a little bit, but yeah, I do expect Hood and Neto, those kind of guys, to have some ownership. And I don't like playing the guy, but he continues to see big minutes. He's averaging 32 minutes per game, but only 0.67 fantasy points per minute, which I guess could be worse. And he only has a 13% usage rate at the moment. But still, I love this game for fantasy purposes. We have a 233-point total and a close spread. And Brooklyn isn't some defensive juggernaut, so I'm really not too scared of that. And this should be a fast-paced game. Nets are playing faster than anyone in the NBA right now, and the Blazers are 12th, so it should be a pretty pace-up spot here. We've also seen at least some potential in Hood so far this season. He had a 34 and 32-point outing, 32 versus Philly, and then 34 versus Dallas, which, not the greatest matchups in the world. So, he's produced. I mean, other than that, he's been in the teens, but, there's potential there. So I don't mind it. I think he's a fine salary saver at 3,600. Next guy is also a guy on the Blazers here, and it's a guy that had a really nice game last night. Hassan Whiteside at 6,500. So if you don't want to double spend up at center, I think a Whiteside and a Towns combo is also pretty viable strategy. I think he's one of the best plays on the slate, to be honest. I shouldn't say one of the best, but I think he's one of the best mid-range plays on the slate. He started off last game versus the Clippers absolutely awful. I think he finished the first half with single-digit fantasy points. But after that, he turned it up for 49 fantasy points, 19 rebounds, and 17 points. He doesn't get the big minutes like some of the elite guys do. I believe he's averaging just over 25 minutes per game, which isn't great, but he doesn't need the big minutes like the other guys do because he's a 1.33 points per minute guy, which is very, very good, especially for someone in that price range. He was nearly 2 points per minute last night, and he draws a fantastic matchup versus Brooklyn. They are 29th versus centers, and they just tend to get abused down low by them last year, and they are this year again. I think he's a little bit mispriced here. I don't think he's overly cheap, but I think this is a very fair price for him. I think he could probably be around 7K, so I do like him at 6,500. And I do think he's got plenty of upside here. He's going to get you your double-double. He can block shots. And like I said earlier, it's a high-paced matchup versus Brooklyn, high Vegas total, so I think Whiteside makes a ton of sense here. Back-to-back 40-point games, and he had 40 back-to-back 40-point games to start the season. Then he had a little bit of cold stretch, 24 and 17. But I like the matchup here. It's going to be, I think he gets you over 40 fantasy points with upside of 50. So Whiteside 6,500. Do like him quite a bit today. And then more of a GPP option, we have Bradley Beal at 8,600. And I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Bradley Beal guy. Not that I don't think he's good or anything. I just hardly ever play him in DFS. But I do think he's a really nice GPP play tonight versus Cleveland. He's getting 35 minutes a night, and he's sitting at 1.26 points per minute. And just for the most basic projection in the world, if you take his average minutes and his average points per minute, that's 44.1 points. So that's just the most basic projection you can make. But this is also an incredible matchup versus Cleveland, who is one of the worst teams in the league versus guards and against shooting guards. More specifically, they're 26th. And Washington plays fast, but Cleveland plays very slow. But still, Washington should look to push the pace here, and we have a 230-point total with a close 5-point spread. So points are going to be scored here. I think Beal is going to be the main part of that, especially for the Wizards. And he's got a 33% usage rate as well. And let me just say, I'd be surprised if he doesn't hit 50 fantasy points tonight. I think he's got upside of 60, and we've seen him have some blow-up games. And I mean, versus Houston, it's an outlier game, but he still scored 72 fantasy points. And we also saw him put up 51 versus San Antonio. So Bradley Beal, never my favorite guy to ever play, but I think he's a pretty fine option. I think he gets you over 50 fantasy points. And then the last guy I want to talk about is Jarrett Culver at, I believe, 5K, right on the dot. Yeah, so 5K. And Jeff Teague, he was ruled out just a little bit ago, so that thrust Culver back into the role he had on Wednesday, where he logged nearly 30 minutes and had over 30 fantasy points. What was he, 90-some% on that night? But I mean, it was like 3,200. So yeah, obviously it was a fantastic play. I know his price came up, but I think he's going to be fine. He's going to see around 30 minutes here, and Warriors are 28th versus point guards this season. Both teams play pretty fast. Minnesota is second in pace, and Golden State is 14th. So I think Culver's fine at this price tag. I think he can get you 30 fantasy points, and you'll take that at 5K. I think he's a pretty safe play tonight, so don't mind Culver. And the last guy I'm going to talk about is Evan Fournier at 4,400. Not my most favorite play in the world, and he's been pretty bad. 10, 14, 20, 27, 24, 25, 31, 29. I shouldn't say he's been too bad. The last 2 games he's been pretty bad, but other than that, he's been fine for his price tag. Although, he's fine with the 5K range, which is fine. But now he's back down to 4,400, which is the cheapest we've seen him all season. So I do like a buy low opportunity here. And this is versus an up-tempo Memphis team, which has really struggled versus shooting guards / small forwards or whatever. Orlando plays at the slowest pace of play in the league, so it's obviously awful. But it's going to be nice because they're going to be in a pace-up spot versus Memphis. They are playing the 4th fastest in the league. Should be able to get some shots up. And at 4,400, I don't think he's going to be like a fantastic option, but I think he's a really nice lineup filler. So let's say you have 4,400 left in the forward or guard spot when you're rounding out your lineup and you have Fournier sitting there staring at you. I don't think he's a bad play at all, and I think he'll be fine. He should get you about 25 fantasy points, maybe with upside of more, because of the really good matchup versus Memphis, who's really struggled versus guards and play at a fast pace. And it's going to be nice to get the Magic in an up-tempo game because they play slow. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video. My core plays just on the night, it's going to be Towns and then Neto and then Drummond or Whiteside probably as of right now. But things can change throughout the day. I'm going to leave you guys with that, though. Sorry this video is coming out a little bit later. Just had a pretty busy morning. You guys can probably understand. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. So follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. Spreadsheets are available in the link description below. I just realized my camera angle is probably not the best. But anyway, yeah, I wish you guys the best of luck tonight and go win some money, I guess.